Crenshaw, and we are live from the 704 once again for episode 128 of the 815 Exchange. Well. We got a couple different interesting developments here in the world of sports, with just a little dab, with just a little bit of PND in the entertainment segments. But plenty to talk about in sports, including going all the way back to last week on Monday with the college football playoff national championship and the massacre that was. But we will get to that, of course, in the first segment. But for now, of course, we gotta intro this thing, and I have to give a shout out because last week's episode did crazy numbers. So yeah, appreciate you guys. Most views I think ever, except for maybe episode 1. So appreciate the love on that, and yeah, that was dope. So appreciate that. It was nice to wake up to. What else? Besides the glory of crossing the century mark yet again. But yeah, as always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you are enjoying the content. And as I always say, if you were looking for anything in terms of anything in this world, you can find it in the description as always, whether that's timestamps, which are always provided, or my social media links if you want to follow my life there. Feel free to, and you can find that in the description. But without further ado, man, alright, we've introed everything. Y'all know what time it is. I might have to warm up a little. It's MLK Day, so shout out to, everybody, and shout out to MLK, of course, the namesake for the holiday, and everything he done during his illustrious life, and everything he did for, the people. But national championship time, yeah? I mean, I really don't even know how to intro this segment. Georgia won 65-7. Yes, national championship. They won 65-7. This was not close. All right, this was a beating, a murder. This was just a complete and utter domination. The most lopsided bowl, not just national championship, not just playoff game, not just the most lopsided bowl game in history. The highest margin of the highest margin of victory of any bowl game ever. That is absurd in the national championship. Now, straight up, Michigan would have been a better matchup-wise for Georgia, so maybe it was a little bit of a nightmare matchup for TCU, but I did not expect it to be this bad. I had Georgia winning, as you remember last week. I said, once again, it wasn't going to come down to the Georgia defense versus the TCU offense, as everybody expected, even though Georgia's defense held it down. Clearly, they only scored 7 times, and we'll get to Bullard and his picks. But I said it was going to come down to this offense versus this defense, and if that Georgia offense got going and played like they did in the second half, TCU stood no chance and would probably get blown out. I think I might have said that word for word. That is exactly what happened. That is precisely what happened. They immediately jumped on that TCU defense, and TCU had no answer all game long. All those dogs, all the talking we've heard about that TCU defense all season long suddenly vanished in a moment of minutes, and then it disappeared for the rest of the game. All right, they were non-existent. Georgia and Stetson Bennett did what they pleased. Speaking of the mailman himself, the oldest Heisman, no, he's not the oldest Heisman finalist of all time. What is he, the oldest quarterback to win an SEC championship? There you go. 25-year-old Stetson Bennett goes 343 yards, 6 touchdowns, and captures another college football national championship game MVP. So there you go. A lot of people saying because he was never an All-American, people wondering how he will not make the Hall of Fame. I think an exemption might end up being placed for Stetson. I'm gonna be honest. I think eventually he finds his way in there just because of what he's done. Like I said, we don't slander Stetson Bennett anymore on this. I still don't think he should have been Heisman finalist, but we do not slander Stetson Bennett on this channel. We learned that lesson far long ago. So yeah, no Stetson, no Stetson slander coming today, coming tomorrow, coming anytime, except for maybe the draft process. If they start to say my boy's a first-round quarterback, because it's just unrealistic. But a hell of a college career, hell of a college, last college game. I mean, 343, 6 touchdowns. I mean, the type of career like you make movies about is what Stetson Bennett has had. He's a Georgia legend. He'll go down as such. Brock Bowers ended up with 7 receptions, 152 and a touchdown. Yes, Georgia finally remembered that they have the best tight end in the country, something they seemingly forgot against Ohio State. Well, yeah, they remembered that against TCU, and boy, oh boy, did that not make this any prettier for TCU. Bowers, once again, did what he pleased. The only thing I think they stopped him, they managed to stop the reverse. So he didn't get to go for, his usual 60, 70-yard rushing touchdown out of the blue. They managed to stop that. Everything else he caught and just got seemingly a first down every time. Again, he might mess around and go top 10 next year. Dude is just a special talent at the tight end position. He's him. Lad McConkey. All the reports about the injury, he could only go for a first half. All they needed him for was the first half. 5 receptions, 88 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Lad McConkey. He looked like the future Patriots slot receiver. Javon Bullard on the defensive side of the ball picks Max Duggan off twice. Max. Just not that guy. Just weren't that guy. He just was not that guy. A lot of people really wanted him to be the guy. I mean, this is the guy y'all nearly gave the Heisman to after one good drive versus Kansas State in a game they lost. Y'all really wanted to give him the Heisman over Caleb Williams. Really did. He would have looked very foolish because he played like garbage the next 2 games, but, it's the guy. This is the guy y'all selected. He doesn't have that dog. The dog was gone, all right? Whatever dog he had for that one drive disappeared in the playoffs, all right? He froze, folded, call it whatever you want. Max Duggan was non-existent. Dean McCarroll couldn't get anything going on the ground. And TCU's offense couldn't do anything. TCU's defense surely couldn't do anything because they let 60 get dropped on them in the national championship. It was an embarrassing performance for the TCU Horned Frogs and kind of mars what was a fantastic first season for Sonny Dykes as a head coach. But nonetheless, Kirby Smart is him. Stetson Bennett is him. Brock Bowers is also him, okay? Georgia, they are the new powerhouse. They are the new standard, at least in this current era. We will see what happens, but yeah, Georgia handles TCU like they were light work in the national championship. Now, combat sports. All right, this is an interesting combat sports segment. Normally, it's like a major boxing event and a major UFC event, and that's when we have the combat sports, and it usually goes first, really, when it's not football season. But we got influencer boxing, and we got a UFC fight night, and just Dana White being a We'll get to Dana, okay? We will get to Dana. I have choice words for Dana White. This may compromise me getting into any UFC events in the future, which I'm just calling it how it is, respectfully. But first off, we'll talk about boxing, all right? It was supposed to be KSI versus somebody else, and I cannot... Oh, it's supposed to be Dylan Dennis, of course. But Dylan Dennis is an internet fighter. He does not fight. He will not hop in the ring. I don't even know if he spars anymore. The man just likes to talk and get lots of hype for clout. He does not fight. Okay, he doesn't fight, except in, the streets in front of Hilton Gardens, and he usually gets hit, so nothing fantastic. But yeah, Dennis, as expected, backs out of this fight. So Faze Tepper. Faze it's not been fun with the boxing, and it just didn't get any better. I remember when we thought Tommy was supposed to be the guy, because, Tommy, he trains, I think it was in jiu-jitsu, he's Brazilian. But it's like, oh yeah, Tepper, he can fight. All right, he's been knocked out now twice in a row. I don't know if I want to see Tepper fight anymore, respectfully. All right, I don't know, okay? But anyways, KSI with a perfect 1-2 punch combo gets him out in the first round. Easy work. One of the best performances I've seen from JJ, so yeah, credit where credit's due. Is he ready for Jake? I don't know yet, but the pressure on that fight is, intensing. It seemed like it cooled off for a while. Looks like it might be intensing a little bit after this fight. We'll see what happens, but honestly, the best boxer, on that influencer card might be Salt Poppy. All right, he's entertaining. He's got the skills. Salt Poppy might be him. He just might be him. He got another KO. I will watch pretty much anything with Salt Poppy in terms of being on the card. I will watch that fight. It can be the first preliminary. I will probably watch that fight. The man is entertaining. He's got the goods. So shout out to Salt Poppy. Shout out to JJ as well for, the first round KO. Tepper, shout out to Faze Tepper for jumping in on short notice, even though he got KO'd. Shout out to Tommy for that. But yeah, KSI does what he does. We'll see if the mega fight happens, but, that's still to be determined. UFC fight night. All right, we had 2, interesting developments here. Not Shane Strickland, that's Swerve. But Mr. Strickland has been having a rough time. He's been having Sean Strickland has been having a very, very tough time recently because he's been given to the murderer's row in his division. However, he got a little bit of it back, got the UD over Imavara, and got to headline this card. So yeah, shout out to Strickland for that. Dan Inge with a vicious KO of Damon Jackson, who was pretty solid comp, only had one loss going into this, but yeah, Dan Inge. Really the story of this card is, fighters who may have been, fed to the killers of the division last year, getting some wins, getting some momentum back. So yeah, shout out to Strickland. Shout out to Inge for getting some respect back, getting the wins back, and kind of getting back to the things, making themselves factors again in their respective divisions. Oh boy, let's talk about Dana White. Let's talk about Dana White. Oh my goodness. There is nothing positive I can say about Dana White currently. The only positive thing I can say about Dana White currently is he is in fact giving us, Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards 3. He is giving us that. So you know what? That is the one smart decision Dana White has made in the past 2 weeks. Unfortunately, Dana White has lost his fucking mind and is acting like a bitch for whatever reason. Apparently, as we all know, Dana White loves paying his fighters as much as he loves his wife. He does not love his wife. In fact, he beats his wife. In fact, he beat her in the middle of a club like a dumbass. Alright, and of course I got called by TMZ because TMZ catches everything. So we'll see if he skates off, probably scot-free from that, after committing a domestic felony in front of cameras in 4K. Okay, so somehow he's sliding by that. Now he doesn't want to pay the greatest heavyweight, in the world, Francis Ngannou. Didn't want to pay him, alright? Made up a bunch of stuff that absolutely nobody believes about him wanting to, get paid these super high dollars to pay lesser fighters, which is a bunch of garbage, alright? So he cuts Francis. He cuts the heavyweight champion of the world because Dana is that petty and stupid. He cuts the heavyweight champion of the world, and of course he goes back to his favorite butt buddy in the entire world, John Bones Jones, the legendary MMA fighter, arguably the greatest of all time if you're counting people that use steroids. Now, Bones gets to fight Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane. I'm not going to hide my affiliation in this fight, with all due respect to Dana, with all due respect to Bones and his legacy. I hope Cyril sparks him. I hope Cyril sparks Bones. I don't even want it to be close. Because if it's close, they're going to give the decision to Bones. Because he's the golden boy. He's Dana's boy. Dana will ensure that. I hope Cyril sparks Bones. I hope Bones looks even more washed than he's already looked, considering the fact that he hasn't fought in 3 years and he lost both of his last 2 fights, even though he was gift wrapped in the decision. I hope Cyril murks John. Murks him. Respectfully. And Dana White, there's nothing good to say about Dana White. It's just nothing. Just absolutely nothing. I don't know why. You know what, Francis? I hope you get a massive bag somewhere else. Dana is just, I have no words. Alright, I have no words. Entertainment. Alright, this is going to be a very, very brief entertainment segment. And this has been a very, very brief podcast, honestly. It's not going to be that long. For real this time, alright? It's not going to be this long. It's not going to be like 50 minutes, alright? It might stretch to 40 depending on how much I talk about the NFL, but we're only at 14 minutes right now, and we're already entertainment, alright? So we got a nice, quick, easy, digestible podcast for you this week, alright? Entertainment, like I said. Only really one thing to talk about in major stuff, and that, of course, was the return of PND. The 6-sided is back up. OVO Sound, we are here. PartyNextDoor returned with the first single in a very long time called Her Old Friends. It was heat, as expected from PND. So, if you have not listened to it, I would highly recommend it. Classic PND. It's the best way to describe it. It's just classic PND. So it was the goods. Her Old Friends. Go listen to it. Very good stuff. Absolutely nothing happening in movies. Avatar is, I think, the 5th highest grossing movie of all time. So shout out to James Cameron for once again making another incredible bag. And perhaps Avatar is, maybe it should be justified as a franchise, maybe the hype is justified. I will watch it when it comes out on a streaming platform. I will not be watching that in theaters, even though it's meant for the theaters. I understand, but I just don't know if I'm going to waste my money to go see it. TV shows. I see why Entourage fell off. I'm going to be honest. I completely understand it. these last 2 seasons are like, they're just not grabbing my interest like the previous 6. They're just not. So I'm stuck on like the end of season 7. It's like as soon as Vince cut his hair, it just kind of fell off. It's like the show fell off when he cut his hair. Alright, Sasha's great, but it's not hitting the same. The Last Kingdom, however, has been fire on Netflix. I should have watched it while it was active and while it was on. That has been heat. I'm just about to start season 4. That has been fantastic though. So yeah, I'm having a grand old time watching that, and yeah, partially addicted to that. So that's what I've been watching in entertainment, and that's the entertainment segment. Yes, we are already at the NFL segment. Alright, we're already here. Alright, already here. Now, of course, my beloved Dallas Cowboys take on the GOAT, Tom Brady, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers today. It's not going to be pretty. We're probably going to lose that game. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. All right, I'm expecting us to lose that game. But we will not be talking about that, all right? We're not going to talk about the Bucs and the Cowboys this week. Instead, we will talk about the rest of the wild card because it was far more interesting than it had really any rise, and now it's the wild card. Wild card is always interesting. But anyways, 49ers Seahawks. 49ers take them out 41-23. This game, going into halftime, really was a lot, and this was a recurring trend throughout the wild card games, were games being much closer than I think a lot of people expected, especially going into at least halftime or going into the third quarter. A lot of games were back and forth. A lot of these teams that were maybe underdogs kind of struck back at the end of that second half or into the first half and provided opportunities for themselves to potentially make some noise. Now, unfortunately for the Seahawks, Brock Purdy is, a couple weeks ago, when Brock Purdy was ridiculously compared to Joe Montana and Steve Young, I was like, relax. I was like, relax. It's unrealistic. Stop calling him, comparing him to two of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Okay? Don't do it. I don't know if I can keep doing that with the way that Brock Purdy is playing. And it's going to become an issue for one Trey Lance, because Trey Lance may have, in his, second year of football, may have been Drew Bledsoe out of a job. Because right now, Brock Purdy is playing like a young Tom Brady. And that is not an exaggeration. That is just literally what the stats are saying. I mean, the man went 18 for 30, 332 touchdowns, dear God. 332 yards and 3 touchdowns in his very first playoff game. To go along with that, he also had a touchdown on the ground. So the man had 4 touchdowns and over 300 yards total in his very first playoff game. Purdy was playing absolutely out of his mind. And of course, the San Francisco 49ers also have that guy, he used to play here in Charlotte. Oh yeah, Christian McCaffrey. He's also a problem. 119 yards rushing for McCaffrey. He also had a touchdown receiving. Oh wait, they also have Deebo Samuel. Well, Deebo Samuel, let's see what Deebo Samuel did. 6 receptions, 133 yards, and a touchdown for him. The 49ers are looking like one of the most complete teams in the league. With the way that Purdy is playing, with the way that defense is already, with Bosa, we had Charles Omenihu, I hope I said that right, 2 sacks in this game. He stepped up big time. Lenore with the pick of Geno Smith. And I can't even say the Seahawks necessarily played bad, especially in that first half. But that second half, the 49ers were just a better team. They were one of the most complete teams in the league, and they just took off from that point in that second half, straight out of halftime. Geno finishes 253, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Kenny Walker got on the board, but under 100 yards. DK Metcalf, 10 receptions, 136, and 2 touchdowns. So monster game for DK, but it just was not enough. Like I said, 49ers looking like should be considered one of the, top contenders. Wink, wink. If you're trying to figure out who are one of the 2 teams I picked for the Super Bowl, probably should be in Super Bowl contention in terms of the favorites. But yeah, 49ers take out the Seahawks in one of the wilder games, all right? In one of the wildest games we have seen in probably the history of the wild card, all right? The Chargers were up 27-0. 27-0. The great Trevor Lawrence had thrown 4 interceptions in the first half, and they were down 27-0. This game was supposed to be over. It was supposed to be done. Brandon Staley would save his reputation. Jay Herbo would still be Jay Herbo and not just Justin Herbert. He'd be advancing. He gets his first playoff win in his first part. It was all sunshine and rainbows. But unfortunately, these are the Chargers. Whether they're in San Diego or whether they're in Los Angeles, this is the Chargers. This is the Chargers, and this is also the Jacksonville Jaguars. And if you haven't noticed, this seems to be what they keep doing, and that's coming back in games throughout this entire run they've been on. But on Saturday night, it looked too impossible. All right, it'd be the third highest comeback in NFL wildcard or NFL playoffs history, actually, for that matter. They were down 27-0. Your supposed generational star quarterback has been playing the worst we've seen him play possibly in his entire career, including college. I don't recall him ever throwing 4 interceptions, much less than half. It looked like Jacksonville was finished. Done. Defense wasn't really stopping anybody. Offense couldn't get anything done. But then with just 24 seconds to go, hope. Lawrence somehow gets it together, flips the switch, whatever, drives down the field, finds Evan Ingram as he has so many times this season, and the Jaguars cut the lead down to 20 before halftime. Get some momentum back. But still, it looked too far out. But then Trevor Lawrence drove back down the field on the very next drive, out of halftime, scored another touchdown, Marvin Jones this time. Dicker hits a 50-yarder, so it's 30-14, still looks like it might be out of reach. But then Trevor Lawrence drives back down the field on a third consecutive drive, and who's that? Zay Jones from 39 yards out. They failed to get the 2-point conversion, though. But still, it's now a 10-point game. A little bit later, as we go into the fourth quarter, under 6 minutes to go, they drive back down the field. It's Tristan Kirk this time, and the game is now tied. From 27 down, the Jacksonville Jaguars have now tied the game, and Trevor Lawrence is now throwing 4 touchdowns to max the 4 picks he threw in the first half. And then, of course, he gets the ball back and drives down the field once again, and off of one of the best play calls you will see all year, potentially ever, from Doug Peterson, who is looking like an absolute genius. And like I said before, and I will say again, should be in Coach of the Year conversations for what he's done with his Jaguars team. Calls an excellent play on 4th and 1. Fakes the sneak, gives it to Etienne. Etienne, of course, got that speed, as we've seen so many times throughout his career at Clemson and now in the NFL. Hits the corner, gets 20 yards, makes it a very easy field goal for Riley Patterson, who just sneaks it in to win the game. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, from the depths of hell, from beyond the jaws, from the intestines of defeat, somehow managed to win this game, and the Chargers do what they do best, and that is choke. All right, they straight choked. Trevor Lawrence, dog. Doug Peterson, dog. Travis Etienne, dog. The Jaguars' defense in that second half, dogs. All right, all of them dogs. All right, Trevor Lawrence. All right, 4 picks in the first half. Most people quit. Most people fold. He didn't fold. He stayed calm. He stayed collected, and he kept driving his team. They had the utmost belief in him after 4 interceptions. And he still had the confidence after 4. Ridiculous boys. Ridiculous boys. And then he went to Waffle House after he's the king of Jacksonville right now. Doug Peterson is a wizard. We know this. One of the best coaches in the league. And after, Saturday, if you don't believe that, I don't know what to tell you. Justin Herbert, all right, my goodness. Wasn't exactly bad, but it wasn't exactly good. And in some places, and the wild card, when you need a win, you want a little bit more from your great quarterback. All right, you really, really do. Despite Keenan Allen's best efforts, he didn't have too much of a great game. 13 targets, 6 catches, had a really solid first half. Couldn't really get going. I don't know what you want to call it. Jaguars defense played better coverage. Probably the simplest way to explain it. But he became a non-factor in the second half. Everett still had 6 receptions, 109 and a touchdown, but really that was the only remarkable thing from that, Chargers offense. Eckler does what he does best and scored 2 touchdowns, but he only had 35 yards rushing. Joey Bosa lost his head. And not just because he threw his helmet down twice, but he lost his head. In a complete and utter meltdown, which helped gift wrap, by the way, multiple touchdowns. 5 points to be exact, I believe, on one point in time. Actually, it might have been more than that. Gift wrapped points to the Jaguars just off of him melting down at what was some very shoddy refereeing, by the way. And it wasn't even mostly for the Chargers, even though Bosa had a meltdown because he got held. It was a lot of pass interference that the Chargers were getting away with, especially in that first half when, Jaguars were playing like garbage. So, yeah, that just all kind of disappeared, and suddenly the tide started changing, and Joey Bosa just couldn't handle it, lost the plot, lost his head. Trevor Lawrence with what is going to go down as an iconic stat line in NFL history. 288, 4 touchdowns, 4 picks, just obscene. Travis Etienne goes 109 yards rushing. 4 different receivers. Ingram, Kirk, Jones, and Marvin Jones Jr. all get in the box for the Jaguars. They end up sacking Herbert 3 times. Josh Allen with the sack. He also had 8 tackles to go with that. Rashawn Jenkins did Rashawn Jenkins thing. He had 7 tackles. But yeah. I mean, you can't make it up, really. You really can't make it up. Just an insane. Just like Trevor said, you can't write a better script. And for some reason, all the Twitter conspiracy theorists was like, oh, the NFL is ready. Go. Just off yourself, bro. Just like, get out of here, bro. Just go. Off. Leave. Leave the premises. Alright? Leave Twitter, please. Stop. It's not. But unfortunately, the Chargers are the Chargers. Brandon Staley might not have a job in a couple days. Sunday. Alright? Sunday. The Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. Alright? No Tua, because once again, Miami folded and, just kind of blew it all. Alright? But you know what? It almost didn't matter because Skylar Thompson played an overall solid game, to be completely honest. Because when it mattered, he made the necessary plays. Unfortunately, his stat line reads 18 for 45, which is yikes. 220 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. Unfortunately, I've never seen one team with so many star receivers drop the ball as much as the Miami Dolphins. Those boys couldn't catch. I don't know what happened to Chiefs' hands. I don't know what happened to Waddle's hands. But they could not catch. Maybe it was too cold. Alright, they could not catch the ball yesterday. Could not. Way too many drops on way too many big plays. Can't even really fault Thompson. Even though I just read you that stat line that sounded horrific, can't even really put this loss on him because you know what? For the most part, he put it where it needed to be. It's just that the stars that are supposed to be stars did not make plays. Waddle goes, 3 receptions, 44 yards. Sheeta goes 7 receptions, 69 yards. Just a very, 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 very mid-week. Very, very, very mid to mediocre week receiving-wise for the Miami Dolphins. Their defense was a little bit better. They got to sack Josh Allen 7 times. Christian Watkins was living in Josh Allen's head rent-free. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be. Even though Josh Allen didn't play a great game, he still had 350 yards and 3 touchdowns, had a hat trick, but he did throw 2 picks, like I said, and was just overall rattled. But Bills get it done when it mattered. All right, Stephon Diggs makes plays, 7 receptions, 114 yards. Big game, Gabe Davis makes plays, 6 receptions, 113, and a touchdown. Recurring thing, you're starting to get it. Josh Allen fumbled 3 times, only lost to 1 of them. Again, Josh Allen disaster class. When your big time players make big time plays, it will bail you out in the playoffs. It will bail you out in big moments, and that is what happened in this game. Matt Milano, by the way, was tackling everything with the pulse. He had 10 of them, along with 2 sacks and 2 TFLs. The man played the game of his life. And one of the biggest moments, Wallow and Kyer Elam were the guys that got the interceptions. But, yeah, the Bills just kind of hold on, narrowly beat the Dolphins in a game that was way too close for comfort. The Giants take out the Vikings 31-24. Brian Daboll. He's been in Coach of the Year conversations pretty much all year, it seems. And this was the one upset in the playoffs that everybody expected. So I don't even know if it was an upset because very few people. I picked the Vikings out of courtesy. Just because I was like, I'll pay them a little bit of respect. On one sheet, I will pick the Vikings. Because nobody, absolutely nobody, they were the worst. 13-14, 12-4, whatever. They were the worst 4-loss team probably in NFL history. I do not know how this team just, every single big game, we said it throughout the season, every single big game, the Vikings have folded without fail. Daniel Jones, however, rose to the occasion, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's passing. He also did 78 yards of rushing, for those wondering. Saquon Barkley, 2 touchdowns. He also had 5 receptions, 56 yards. I think, he went over 100 yards total. So a great first, is that Saquon's first playoff game? I think that was Saquon's first playoff game. But anyways, great first playoff game. It was so for Saquon Barkley. The Giants were just a better team. Simply put, I don't know how, by the way, on that last drive for Kirk Cousins, who goes 273 and 2 touchdowns in this game, TJ Hawkinson had 2 receptions, 129. But still, as much as I love Hawk, I don't know how you do not go to Justin Jefferson on that last play. You have to get the ball. We've seen what happened. All right, he's made some unbelievable catch against the Bills, who have probably, I don't know. That's probably an argument. But anyways, against the Bills, all right, made that insane catch. You got to get the ball. I don't know if you force it, all right? Put it somewhere where it's somewhat catchable for Justin Jefferson on that last play, and he at least would have been, giving you a chance to get the first down. Dumping it off to Hawk in that situation makes absolutely no sense. Don't know what Kirk Cousins was thinking. But then again, the Vikings clearly haven't done much thinking throughout this entire season. It was just vibes, and in big games, it was just L's, and they take the biggest L of their season here in the wild card. They take that L to the Giants. The Bengals and the Ravens, that was way too, just unnecessarily close. All right, unnecessarily close. However, J.K. Dobbins is going to have words with Greg Roman. J.K. was feasting. However, he only got 13 carries. Only finishes with 62 yards. He had 4 receptions, 43 yards, and a touchdown. But I don't know how he does not get a carry within the 5-yard line all game. Do not understand that. Instead, when the game is tied 17-17, they decided, Tyler Huntley over the top. Logan Wilson blocks it like Mutombo. Sam Hubbard picks it off. Mark Andrews nearly running the fastest I've ever seen Mark Andrews run. Not he's thinking he was particularly slow, but bro was flying. All right, and low-key got blocked in the back, but we won't talk about him, not America. But nonetheless, takes it, 80-something might have been like 99, it was on the goal line, so 98-yard fumble return to win the game. Unbelievable scenes. All right, Joe Burrow, not too crazy, solid game, only 209 and a touchdown for the King of the North, but it didn't matter because you know what? It was a team win. It was a big, big team win with a little bit of luck, and sometimes that's what you need in the playoffs. And since he gets it done, Jamar Chase does Jamar Chase things, 9 receptions, 84 yards, and a touchdown, as always. You know what it is, man. It's Jamar Chase. All right, we've come to expect it. The Ravens. All right, Tyler Huntley, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and, of course, a very costly fumble. Greg Roman looking like he's going to join the ranks of the great football terrorists of our time. For not running J.K. Dobbins enough in this game and just not using him enough. Changes might be coming to Baltimore. They got to figure out the Lamar situation. It's just not a great way to end the season for the Ravens. The Bengals survive in advance. Y'all sneak away at home, get a win. That's all that really matters. It's the playoffs. Like I said, win by any means necessary. And y'all win by any means necessary. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to Roundup. Now, it's just going to be an assortment of stuff, which is what the Roundup is, but just telling you that college basketball. I was actually going to do a college basketball segment, but I'll just talk about what I really want to talk about. While LSU women's basketball is doing fantastic, all right, Angel Reese is looking like a National Player of the Year candidate, and looking like, this is why she was the number 2 ranked player coming out of high school behind Paige Buckers. They're undefeated. LSU men's basketball, not so great. In fact, they lost 106, and I quote, 106-66 to Alabama yesterday. Brandon Miller, who probably is going to be a top 5 pick in the draft at this point, and has honestly looked like the best of any freshman in college basketball this year. Man's currently averaging 18 and 8. He had 31 yesterday. He had 25 at halftime. This game was not close. In fact, he was outscoring LSU at one point in time. I think at halftime, potentially. This game was just not even close. Not even close. An absolute butchering from Alabama of the rivals. LSU, I don't know what happened, but I had to talk about that. Losing 106-66 is crazy. Brandon Miller, you are him. In the NBA, another team that is absolute hot garbage is the Houston Rockets. I love the Houston Rockets, love core. I really do. I love JG. Somewhat love KPJ. I love Sengun like everybody else. High hopes for Jaga. Steven Silas is not the coach. All right, he's not. All right, I've tried it. The experiment's done. All right. Okay, maybe you're just using him as a tank man the rest of the season, but besides this season, he should not be coaching on your team anymore. He just does not have the goods. He's not his, I don't know what you want to call it. He's just not the goods. He ain't got it. Fire him. For the sake of your young players, fire this man. All right, JG is starting to show signs of regression. He's starting to pick up some bad habits, which will be a waste of all of his superstar potential. Sengun somewhat has been salvageable, but it's just been a horrible, no bad, dirty season for the Houston Rockets. They are firmly in that race for Wemby or Scoot Henderson at the end of the season, but it's been a horrid season for the Houston Rockets. Ja Morant finally caught a body. We saw that coming, no surprise. He tries to take somebody's life seemingly every single week. He finally connected, so the greatest missed dunker of all time finally got a poster. But yeah, Ja also been playing very well past couple weeks. A lot of people talking about his efficiency raised a little bit. Same thing with Trae Young over the past couple weeks. So we'll see what happens there with the Grizzlies. Carlos Correa, the never-ending saga of one of baseball's best shortstops, if he's even going to be able to play baseball anymore, because apparently either his foot, ankle, or leg, or his knee, I don't know what it is at this point, but it must be, I don't even know if it's on his body at this point, because he has now failed 2 physicals, and he is back with the Twins for $100 million less, and also around 7 years less than his original contracts. I don't know what is wrong with Carlos Correa, but it must be bad, because he is just being hot potatoed around the league. He's finally back with the Twins. We'll see if it sticks. But yeah, the Carlos Correa saga continues. Who knows what's going on there. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed. That is the end of this MLK Day edition of the FC Exchange. Appreciate all the love last week. It's keeping momentum going all the way to 900, as I always say. But without further ado, like I said, Ocho, signing off.